Let me just talk briefly then about the process that we're going through in terms of this update. We have about a year-long process. We're fairly early into it now. We've had 2 steering committee members. We started in April. It's now the end of May. We hope to be done by March of next year. That's our goal with this update. And we have a number of tasks you can see on this, and I believe this is also in your handout, on the front page of your handout. We're going to be, the first task we're going to be addressing are community inventory tasks, where we kind of look at where Grand Rapids is at now and what has changed since 2002 and 2003, and preparing a community vision. And the vision statement is essentially what the long-term goal is. Where does Grand Rapids want to be in 20 years? That's kind of the long-term vision, and the steering committee has already started with that process. And the input that we get tonight at this meeting is going to inform that process so they can move forward with that as well. We will then be developing, based upon all of the community inventory and upon the visions, and long-term vision process, we'll be developing future land use scenarios. So essentially, looking at how does this vision that we talk about in terms of what we want to see happen in Grand Rapids, actually, what does it look like when it sits on the landscape? What does it look like in terms of where areas are going to be developed, where areas are going to be protected? How do you segregate between residential and economic development areas? How do you combine them where it makes sense to combine them? Those kinds of questions relate to the future land use map. And we will be creating a future land use map, providing a couple of alternatives for people to look at and select what they like from the different alternatives and come up with a preferred alternative that will move forward. That process is going to happen probably into late summer and early fall. Then there will be developing a series of written goals and objectives that kind of flesh out both the future land use map and the vision, so that there's some written content that the city staff and the city council can follow. And developing at the end of the process a series of implementation recommendations. And that's sometimes where people tend to get the most excited about what you're actually going to do. But we don't talk about that until the end. And you first have to come to some agreement about where you want to go to before you start deciding about how you want to get there. So that's near the end of the process, and of course then we do a draft plan and a final plan update. There are several opportunities for the public to get involved. We have a public participation and outreach process up here on this third line. We have our first public meeting. It's in late May. You're going to do some survey that's going to be mailed out to people in this summer. A series of focus groups that will be more targeted at specific interest groups and specific stakeholder groups in the fall, and we'll probably have anywhere from 6 to 10 different focus groups. And if you've signed up if you put your email down here, you'll be on the list for being contacted about whether or not you want to participate in the focus group or not. Then we will have another public meeting, just a general public meeting, kind of like this one, sometime near the end of the process. It's currently looking to be in January. So instead of having a really great night to compete with the comprehensive plan meeting, we may have Blizzard to compete.
Hopefully a few more people.
And then after the plan itself is developed, the steering committee will make its final recommendations, have a final plan that will then get submitted to the planning commission and the city council. They have their own formal adoption process, and there will be a public hearing, at least one, that will occur as part of that process as well. So the public will have some input opportunities then. So any questions about the process and how that works?
So is there a way for people who could not be here tonight to submit thoughts, comments, anything that will get fed into the process?
Yes, and we have our comment sheet. You want to grab a copy of that?
Our copies are inside everybody's.
Okay, I just wanted to hold it up.
Oh, sorry.
In your handout, you have this comment sheet, and this is actually we specifically designed this for when people who come to the public meeting and then say, gee, I have a neighbor who has an interest in one of these issues and they would really like to say something. You can actually take this home, you can make photocopies, send this back in to, who are we sending it back to? To me, okay. My address is on here. And it will be treated as if it were comments at the public meeting.
Also want to add that on the city's webpage, we have a separate area dedicated to the comprehensive plan. We will be posting on that page minutes from the meetings or summaries of the meetings of the task force, the steering committee, and the technical advisory committee. There also is an email link for someone who wants to provide a comment directly. So we'll receive that and pass it on to the steering committee.
And if I could, I imagine we'll also post this newsletter on the website. The website general city address is on the front page of the newsletter, and there are email contact also.
And can I have multiple copies of this to keep it or to leave at the library for distribution?
Yes. Yeah, we can. We have plenty of copies, and we'll make sure that those get used. That's our goal here. So, and if you have any ideas about how to get people to comment, we're welcome to hear those as well. Yes.
I'm just trying to figure out, is this a comprehensive land use plan or a comprehensive plan that would include things like eliminating poverty and getting more students involved in extracurricular activities, or is it a land use plan?
The primary element of a comprehensive plan, it focuses on the land use element. However, cities very frequently will go into those other areas as well, and it's kind of dependent upon where the steering committee wants to go. We have to address land use, economic development, and transportation. Those are kind of the basic elements that you have to cover, but then there's a whole series of other elements that will be covered as well, including things like community welfare. You know, is a legitimate issue to raise within the comprehensive plan, and the issue identification process will go through after I get through talking at you. We'll hopefully give you an opportunity to raise those issues. Any other questions?
That mail survey will go to everyone within the city limits, is that correct?
Yes, that is the intent is that it will go to everybody within the city.
All property owners.
Yeah, okay.
What about renters and other kinds of
Well,
residents?
that's a little more difficult for us.
Sorry, Jack, didn't hear your question.
I asked about renters and other people who weren't necessarily property owners.
That, the only thing that I can think of there is that we would have to, if we want to try to gather some of that additional input, we would just have to drop them off at known, apartments, because we don't have a rental code, so we don't have a database with all those individual residents in it. All we have are the county tax records, basically, for sending out at this point anyway, for sending out those surveys.
Brian, I wondered if, I might have missed this, and correct me if I'm wrong, but do we send, or do we contact the different representatives? For example, if someone's on this, heading up the steering committee for transportation, should we contact them if we have some comments to give, or is there a general address that we just send this to?
Yeah, well, you can contact any steering committee member if you want to bring comments to the steering committee. There are some committee members that already have some constituencies, and they'll be making sure that they do kind of outreach to their own constituency. But really, all steering committee members are available to the public for taking comment and bringing that to the committee. So there's not, you have to go to one for one kind of comment and a different committee